to get your insight here and your perspective because this week China hosted its largest ever military parade to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. International leaders, including North Korea's Kim Jong-un and Russian President Vladimir Putin, were in attendance as China touted advanced jets, tanks, missiles, and drones. So to start off the conversation, what are some of your takeaways from the event?
This was information warfare at its finest. We saw China try to give the appearance of being strong. And over the last 3 or 4 weeks, Chinese propagandists, state, party, and the informal ones, have been showing off China's military hardware and making the case that China now is a strong power. This sort of reminds me of the ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu, and one of his more famous sayings was, "When weak, appear strong." So I think that part of that's what's going on right now. Now, of course, China has a large military. It's very capable. It has some weapons that we don't have. So yes, it is a strong military, but I don't think it is nearly as strong as it portrays itself to be. There are a lot of reasons for that, but at this moment, I think that we are seeing a show, first of all, directed to the Chinese people to show that the Communist Party is capable, but also to the rest of the world to intimidate them.
That's a really interesting take. And it did seem very flashy, showing off all of this military hardware. But you think that that's not really the case. They're actually weak. What is making China so weak right now, in your opinion?
The most important reason for the Chinese military is that there is turmoil at the top. A lot of senior officers have been disappeared recently. Many of them, matter of fact, over the last several months, only Xi Jinping loyalists have been disappeared. And the general narrative is that Xi Jinping got rid of his own supporters. And that's possible, but I don't think that it's true. And the reason is the objective factors point to a different story, that Xi Jinping's adversaries have been getting rid of Xi Jinping's people. And the reason is, we go back to July 9th of last year. That was the first of a series of articles in PLA Daily, which is the main propaganda organ of the Chinese military. And these articles were praising, quote unquote, collective leadership. That's a direct slap at Xi Jinping, who has demanded absolute obedience and has this one-man style of rule. Now, the authors of these articles are aligned with General Zhang Yaoshao, who is the #1 uniformed officer. He is the first vice chairman of the Communist Party's Central Military Commission, and he is known not to be entirely happy with Xi Jinping. And that leads to the conclusion that General Zhang is getting rid of Xi's loyalists in the military. There's been a lot of unhappiness with Xi Jinping in the military ranks for a number of reasons. And so my sense, only a sense, my sense is that Xi Jinping has lost a lot of influence in the Chinese military. Because of this infighting, I don't think it's that effective an organization right now. Now, once they get past this turmoil, yes, they can be fearsome, but not right now. And one other thing, Brittany, China has a communist military. That means it has 2 reporting lines, one political and one military. Of the 2, the military reporting line is the less important. And that means political decisions actually affect the way the Chinese military operates. And that means it's not a way to run a war. You know, they'll be good in the first week when they have a predetermined plan and they're just sort of implementing it. But when they get punched in the face, I'm not sure that they can react. And remember that great philosopher, Mike Tyson, when he said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
What do you think Xi's plan is? Because perhaps the most striking image out of this wasn't even the military hardware at all. It was, in fact, Xi flanked by 2 leaders, Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un. What did you make of that? Did you think that was him, once again, trying to show a sign of strength?
Oh, well, that certainly is trying to show a sign of strength, a sign of unity. The message here is that China dominates the world, and that the United States is finished. Now, I think that that narrative is wrong. I'm sure President Trump thinks it's wrong, but that message is resonating around the world. This is, I mentioned, information warfare. President Trump has unilaterally disarmed in information warfare because he's gutting Voice of America, and more important, he's gutting Radio Free Asia. And that means China's messages go out and they are not contradicted like they once were. So unless President Trump has something up his sleeve, and he could, this is not a good story for us, because right now the world is buying this narrative that China is more powerful than the United States.